In this video, I'm going to be building out 3 golf simulator bays. Be sure to watch the first video in the series if you want to catch the why, and then also see everything that I've done in order to get to this point in the build. Here is a good look at the space as it is now. When we were demoing the shipping department, we saved as much of this paneling as we could. The next big step is to start framing, which I'm personally always excited to get to because it not only goes really quick, but you get to see such big amounts of progress in a short amount of time. Jacob and I can get into a groove, and while one is measuring out the stud lengths, the other is cutting. While one is cutting, one is laying out the top and bottom plates. While one of us sticks everything together, the other is laying out the next set of plates. Cool thing about framing is it goes so quick.
Please don't nail these.
I think you said toenail. I was totally about to nail it. No.
Like this.
Oh, what a cute little header.
I'm framing circles around you.
Well, but like, I'm the one with the nailer, so why would you have nails on you? Let me have that nail gun.
Who's got the nailer now?
Give me the nailer. Thank you. Then, before you know it, wall 1 is ready to be stood up. Standing up one wall can be tricky, so since we have enough room to frame out 2 walls at the same time, we complete framing of a second wall so that both can be stood up together and attached to give the other one support. You trying to race me? Is that what's happening? Don't you dare.
Only racing compensation. Don't beat me.
Wait, why are you taking my job? Stop it. Jacob just likes to compete. Or maybe it should be said, Jacob just likes to win. Can I nail in the corner? Before we stand those up, let's talk about layout, and I want to show you the overall plan. I spent countless hours in SketchUp playing around with different layout options and sizing in order to utilize the space best. Then there's also set dimensioning for how far the golfer needs to be from the screen, and also how far they need to be from the simulator. Accommodating all of those, plus leaving room for walkways and seating, the space starts filling in really quickly. Outside of just the dimensions, I was also considering the environment, the vibe, for the player themselves. Is it a group of friends that is throwing a party? Then maybe they would want to have access to each other. Or is it a person trying to focus on a part of their game and maybe even get a lesson? Then they would probably appreciate being more remote. Since the perimeter is already existing, Jacob and I just had to build the inside walls. The plan is to stand up this wall first, then stand up wall 2 to support it. Figuring out where the first wall needs to go, because we're about to stand these suckers up. We start by popping a chalk line on the floor and then measuring out where they need to go on the walls. Is it? Right at that outlet? No, it's not. Is it? We're not having good luck, Jacob. Is it to the left of that? Dang. This wall is gonna dead end, of course, right into that outlet. So what we're gonna do is just add on an additional 2x4 onto the end, give us an 1.5 inches to bump us out past that outlet. Walls I'm gonna have to frame before I stop getting this giddy about it. It's not necessarily the framing, it's changing a space that you're so familiar with, and so quickly. By popping a chalk line on the floor and drawing a line on the walls, it makes it simple to then line up the wall to both marks and secure it. Then Jacob even creates a little kickstand from a scrap to give it stability without him having to hold it. Let's repeat on wall 2. There's that outlet we had to accommodate for, which worked out really great. So you can use a level to draw a line on the wall and then already start your screws. Good gosh, my fingernails are dirty. And then start your screws so that all you have to do is go in and finish it. This is gonna be the bay between the door to the private bay. Cool, very cool. And then the knitting mat's gonna be here, projection screen will be there. Knock it in, table over there. I get excited. Now that the walls are stood up, we had to secure them to the concrete. This task goes much quicker if you have a hammer drill, but you can make do, like we did, with a regular one instead. And that's one bay, which will actually be called bay 2. Now we needed to frame, then stand up the third wall, which will make up the other wall for the adjoining bay, which is bay 1. Of course, it's just my luck that the Mr. Cool mini split is about 6 inches where this wall needs to go. When I installed these units 3 years ago, it was just a big empty space, so it was a great placement. Moving it isn't too tricky though. Jacob actually did that before we even started framing. If you're not familiar, these Mr. Cool units are DIY installs where the lines come charged already. So all you have to do is install them and then hook them up. I've had these 2 units in here for 3 years and they not only work great, but I've never had an issue with them. Even moving them around didn't cause any trouble. So same thing whenever standing up the walls, chalk line on the floor and then a pencil line on the wall just so that things are in place to quickly screw it in whenever we actually stand it up. This is such a clever trick. After securing it to the wall and the floor, next we started sheathing them. Okay, now I need to skin this wall. I'm gonna be using OSB and I set down some 1/4 inch spacers. I typically use carpenter's pencils, those square ones, but I can't find any in the shop. So 1/4 inch MDF, really any sort of spacers work. And this way I can bring in a full sheet, set it on the ground, nail it in place, and then move on. And then from there, I'm starting at the bottom so that I can use that as a lip in order to work my way up this wall. I went with OSB for this material because it's the cheapest material that can also hold up to a golf ball going 180 plus miles per hour. And then this is bowing the center. So then I'm just gonna move it to where it's halfway on the sheathing. These walls are not structural, so if you're building structural walls, and watch one of my other videos. If you're building a bay yourself, know that I've seen plenty that just frame out the walls like what we did, but then stop. And this way the ball has these empty cavities to sink inside of and kill the speed. I didn't like how wobbly this made the walls, and after doing a few tests where I hit straight into the OSB, I was fine going with adding OSB. Plus, there will be curtains on the outside of them, which really does most of the speed killing. While I was doing all of the easy lower walls, Jacob was making all of the unique upper walls. If you have low-hanging ceilings, then you can certainly stop at just 2 rows, but since I had space to go taller, I went taller. I want the base to feel comfy and spacious, but that meant we had to start at the front with a set height, which is determined by the screen, and then grow out from there. Now these walls aren't structural, so instead of having studs carry up the entire way, we only have these little kickstands, if you will, that go up to the full height I wanted. And these are placed at the start and end of the sheet of the OSB. If you're building a bay yourself, then hopefully this shows you just how simple you can keep it.
Look at this huge splinter I just got.
Yes.
It doesn't feel good. The sheathing is going to stabilize the walls well enough for now, but the thing that will keep them from racking is the ceiling members. Again, a full ceiling frame would be completely overkill, so we only did enough to keep the walls together and to give us hanging area for the items that a finished bay will need. Things like lights, a projector, and curtains. What we want to do is span a 2x10 from one side to the other. These fit into slots Jacob cut earlier. And this is a great example on where modeling comes in handy. We were able to plan the step way in advance and then execute it as we were building. And this is where a slowdown happens, which is always tough for me to adjust to after the fast pace of framing. With most of the low work being done, now every step seems to involve moving a ladder, then tons of ups and downs. Add in the fact that it isn't one big open space any longer, and it only adds to the time it takes to secure one member in place. However, it is part of it, and if you can't tell, we were having a blast. After Jacob secured the front spanning member, we added in a few more to wrap up the ceiling in bay 1. If it looks just like the model, then we're on track. It's not bad for 2 days of work, but there's still plenty to do. Next up, Jacob and I will build a sound wall to keep the shop noises from the golfers, then finish out the areas to turn them from hollow rooms into usable golf bays. Stay tuned.